Hey everybody, I had a good friend of mine ask me to put together a quick video on how the maple syrup process goes. So I'll do my best here to explain it. We are in the middle of maple season here, so there's some things that you won't necessarily be able to see, like the maple leaves themselves, but we'll get started. The first thing you do is look for your maple trees. That's a lot easier to do in the summertime when there's leaves on the trees. But if not, you can look up. Maples have a certain branch structure that you can look for. But once you know you have a maple tree, you have to make sure it's big enough. And basically, you need to be a 30-inch diameter minimum to tap the tree. So if you go up and you measure 30 inches around the tree, it's big enough. And so then what you do is you take your drill bit and you go about 2 inches and you drill into the tree and then stop. That's all the deeper you need to go. Once you have the hole drilled, you take this spile. After you've drilled your hole, you take a piece called the spile and you tap it into the tree. Most spiles have a hook on it and have a spot for the lid. The lid just keeps snow out and rain out. And the bucket here is how you collect. This is one way to collect. And speaking of collecting, sap will flow on times when it's warm, so above freezing, and it won't flow when it's below freezing. But what you do then is on the days when you have sap in your bucket, you go around, and in my case, I take each bucket from the tree and I put it into a different bucket to collect it. So when you want to collect, you just take the bucket off the tree, and I have a different bucket that I will take it away with, and that's all there is to it. After you've collected it from all your trees, you bring it back in my case, I put it in a steel drum to store it until I'm ready to cook it. You can store it for a little while, the sap. It just depends on the temperature. If it's going to be too warm, you should probably cook it or find a way to keep it cold. But I try to keep it cooking pretty quick so that it stays good and it's not all this work is wasted. When it comes time to cook the sap, there's a lot of different ways to do it. A lot of people will get started in a turkey fryer, which is off of a propane burner, and they have the pan and they dump the sap into the turkey fryer and they'll just cook it that way. And that works great, but it's not gonna work real great for a lot of taps, but if you just have a couple trees in your backyard, that's all you need. They do have special built maple syrup pans called evaporators that are built to cook a lot of maple syrup at a time. So this pan is 2 feet wide and it's 4 feet deep, and it makes a lot of steam because you're cooking the water off of your maple sap. So maple sap comes out of the tree at about 2% sugar, and to make maple syrup you need to have about 66% sugar. So you need to take a lot of the water out of the maple syrup, or of the maple sap, before it can be maple syrup. If you don't, it's not going to last, and it's not actually going to be maple syrup. So what we do here is we have a wood fire underneath the pan, and we keep that fire as hot as we can because we really want to boil this water off as quickly as possible because we have a lot of sap to go through. I'll show you here how big this pan is. I'll shut off the blower and I'll take you a little closer. So it's a little bit hard to see because there still is steam, but you can see the boiling, and that's actually turning into maple syrup. So it comes into this channel. It's a little bit tough to see with the steam, I understand, but it comes into this channel. It comes under through here. It goes up through this channel, and then it comes out here into this channel. And the closer it gets to this box, the closer it is becoming maple syrup. And we'll know it's maple syrup. There are several ways to tell if it's maple syrup, but when you come off of the stove, when it reaches this 7 degrees, maple syrup boils at 7 degrees above the temperature of water. So water boils basically at 212 degrees. So basically at 219. So when you see your thermometer go to the 7, that's when you can pull it off and you draw it out of this valve. So now our thermometer is at the 7 degree mark, so we can bring some syrup off the pan. And it just comes out, very runny, very liquid because it's very hot. It's 219 degrees. Good rule of thumb is drain off the syrup until it drops 1 degree on the thermometer. By constantly adding sap, we do have to keep the level of our pan so that we don't burn the pan, but we can pull off a little bit of syrup at a time until we get down to that 1 degree drop. So once we get most of the water cooked off with the wood stove, we take it home and we bring it just to finish on the stove. So this is about 3 gallons of syrup, and we'll measure it with a tool to measure the density called a hydrometer. And once it tests good on the hydrometer, we put it through the filter, and then we end up putting it in a bottle. So this is a decorative leaf that I like to use. And this is a jug that you can buy from a lot of different places. And next step after all that is to eat it and enjoy it. So I hope that was useful to you. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, let me know.